السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الحمد لله رب العالمين، أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وصحبه والتابعين وتابعيهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين. أما بعد, inshallah, today it is Monday, the 16th of Jumada Al Uola. The first half of Jumada Al Uola is gone already. The 16th of Jumada Al Uola, 1446, matching the 18th of November 2024. This is our session number 100. We reached 100 sessions. Going through this book, Al-Jadeed في شرح كتاب التوحيد. And we are still in the chapter on at-Tawheed, superstition. طيب, and the last session, which was last Monday, we went through the ayah from Surah Al-A'raf, how the disbelievers, they used to be superstitious about Musa alayhi salatu wassalam and those who are with him. And the other ayah in Surah, that was the ayah in Surah Al-A'raf 131, ayah 131, Surah Al-A'raf. Then we went through the ayah number 19 from Surah Yasin, where that believer told them, طائركم معكم, or the messenger said, replying, when they told him, إنا تطيرنا بكم, تطيرنا بكم, we feel, superstitious. Bad things are going to happen to us because of you, right? Because of you. And that was in the past and continues to be nowadays. The evil people, the people of desires, the people of disobedience, the people of disbelief, the people of hypocrisy, they feel gloomy and sad and superstitious, like something bad is going to happen because they have righteous people around them. They don't want that, right? It's like it's going to bring sadness and evil to them. Wallahu al-musta'an. Now, today, the next hadith is a famous hadith. Sahih Muslim. And we heard this hadith so many times during the pandemic. عن أبي هريرة رضي الله عنه أن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم قال, upon the authority of Abi Hurairah, may Allah be pleased with him, that the Messenger of Allah صلى الله عليه وسلم said, لا عدوى, no عدوى, no contagion. We can translate as like that, no contagion. Contagion. The word contagion itself, it means that. Right? It means the disease that is infectious, and it means it doing that job. But if we want to say no contagion or no infectious disease that works by itself, that hurts by itself, in of itself. Inshallah, the more explanation will come. Wala tiyara. Tiyara, again, is the superstition. And the original word came from the birds, right? And them being superstitious with the birds, either by scaring them or by their colors or by their... Right? Wala hamata. This is a good example of, hama is basically a type of a bird. A type of a bird. And some, they said it's a mythical one. Some said it's the owl. Well, the boom or boomah. In Arabic, boom. The word boom or boomah, right? That's the word for the owl, right? For the owl. Wala safar. Wala safar. And no safar. Safar, either the month or something else, it will come in the explanation. أخرجاه, this is in Bukhari and Muslim, Bukhari 5707, Muslim 2220. He said, زاد مسلم ولا نوء. زاد مسلم ولا نوء. There is no نوء. Inshallah, this also he will come, it will explain, right? And the places of where the moon, different stages of the moon, or it could mean other than that. ولا غول. غول, they have this word in English now, ghoul. They just use the ghoul. غول, right? غول, talking about a type of jinn or satans, right? So the explanation will come more, inshallah. He will explain all of these words. طيب. So now in the footnote he says that according to the author, زاد مسلم ولا نوء. So this word نوء is in Sahih Muslim from the same narration of Abu Huraira. But then as for the addition of لا غول, no غول, فأخرجها من حديث جابر بن عبد الله. So this one is from the hadith of Jabir. So you want to note it that لا نوء is from the hadith of Abu Huraira, but لا غول is there in Sahih Muslim, but then it is from the hadith of Jabir رضي الله عنه. طيب. شرح الكلمات, the explanation of the words. لا عدوى, no contagion or no communicable disease. No communicable disease that takes place, that takes effect on its own, autonomously, independent of Allah's will. That's how the meaning is. طيب. So here he says, al-adwa, the word adwa, what does it mean? إصابة الشخص السليم بمثل ما بصاحب الداء. Al-adwa is إصابة. إصابة is when something hits someone. So here they're talking about the disease. The disease happens to الشخص السليم. الشخص, the person, السليم, who is healthy. So for the healthy person to be hit with بمثل, with the likes of ما بصاحب الداء, the likes of what the person who has the disease have or has. So you have a sick person, he has a disease, then you have a healthy person getting that disease from him. That's the adwa. That's the adwa. When the disease spreads by it being a contagious disease. Contagious disease. And here it says no, there is no such a thing. لا عدوى. لا عدوى. So he explains لا عدوى أي لا عدوى تؤثر بنفسها. There is no communicable disease that takes effect on its own here, meaning independently of Allah's will. And we know it's true, right? Family living in the same place, one of them gets sick, the others, they might not get it at all. All of them. It could be 10 people with him. They don't get it. And maybe 3 they will get it and 2 they won't, and like that. So it's not working on its own. It cannot work on its own. It doesn't mean that there are no diseases that are communicable, that are contagious, that spread through mingling and mixing. There are diseases that are like that. And he will explain it more when at the end, he will talk about the hadith, فِرَّ مِنَ الْمَجْذُومِ فِرَارَكَ مِنَ الْأَسَدِ. Run away from the leopard person, the one who has leprosy, like you run away from the lion. So this hadith, tells you, you should stay away. Why? Because you might get it, because it's communicable. That disease might spread by interaction with other people. That's the first one. La adwa. La adwa. I remind you of the hadith where Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said this: no contagious disease, no communicable disease. And one Bedouin Arab, he said, we find that the camel, he will have, a disease starting with him, like a dot, a little dot starts. Then it spreads, and by him mingling with the other camels, the other camels will get the disease. So what did Rasulullah ﷺ tell him? Who knows? He told him, فَمَنْ أَعْدَى الْأَوَّلِ. The first one who got the disease. Who gave him the disease? Who gave the first camel that disease? You're saying it's communicable, right? Where did he get it from? Where did he get the disease from? The first one. It's Allah. It's the qadr of Allah. The qadr of Allah. And that's why we keep, and during the pandemic, this was a crystal clear case. You take the precautions, but you know full well that what Allah decreed, it will take place. What He did not decree, it will not take place. If it's in the qadr, it will happen. If it's not in the qadr, it will not happen. So you do your best, and in the end, you're not gonna live in fear and terror, and because you are, and then starting to accuse people. That's, if you remember this point, it was a very important one. Very important one. You don't know if you got sick. You don't know who you got it from, where. You can't say, I visited Fulan, so I got it. He did that. I got it from him. What makes you know you got it from him? Maybe you gave it to him, actually. You know how some people will carry the disease, but it doesn't show on them. They visit some people. That person, he gets sick by getting the disease. He is weak. He gets very sick very fast. Now that person who was carrying the contagion, he goes to visit him now. Right? He's the one who gave it, but now he says afterwards, he goes back home, he gets sick. Oh, I got it from him. You gave it to him. And it only showed up after you gave it. And after you, because you are healthy, and you know how some people, their immune system is not the same. Some people are very strong, some people are not. Right? So we cannot claim that this person was the one who gave it to him or to them, or I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna visit them. Every time I visit them, I get I get sick. Right? You cannot do that. You cannot say that. It is wrong, right? Because la adwa, except by the permission of Allah, the qadr of Allah. No contagious disease except by the qadr of Allah, by the will of Allah. ولا طيرة لا طيرة لا طيرة موجودة ومؤثرة. لا طيرة, the طيرة once again is the superstition. There is no superstition that exists, موجودة, ولا مؤثرة, nor impactful or has an effect. So the first one, adwa, is there. Adwa is there, but what is negated is what? Adwa exists. Contagious diseases exist, but they cannot be contagious except through the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The tiyara, it does not exist aslan. Yani. No such a thing as something. Allah created something that will somehow cause some bad luck. Does not exist, and it does not bring any effect. Wala hama. Hama is a type of bird. Al-hamatu hiya ta'irun min tuyur al-layl. It is a bird from the birds of the night. A night bird. You know how they say those who stay always awake at night, they call them what? Night owl. Huh? That's what they call them. Those who stay awake all night long, you know. Subhanallah. Yani. تزعم العرب أنه إذا وقع على دار أحدهم فإنه ينعى موته أو موت قريب له. The Arabs claim that if that bird fell on the house of one of them, then فإنه ينعى. Na'i is the declaration of the death of someone. Right? That's called na'i. So if someone died, somebody sends messages, Fulan passed away, his janaza is tomorrow after dhuhr, that's called na'i. And this na'i, this declaration of the death of someone, if it is done to inform the people, so they will offer condolence, they will attend the janaza, they will help in washing and shrouding, they will go on the funeral and attend, the burial, then that's na'yun ja'iz, is okay. But the na'i that is haram, that they used to do in Jahiliyyah, is, the wailing and the crying and Fulan died, and they keep, declaration to for fame and stuff. So here they claim that night bird, whether it's the owl or something else, or even something imaginary, as some of them said, it's like a mythical thing, khurafi, ta'ir khurafi. If it falls on the home of one of them, then that means that bird, when it falls on the home, it is declaring, it is informing that he will die, the owner of that house will die, or somebody related to him, موت قريب له, the death of someone who is related to him. والنفي في الحديث نفي لما كانت تعتقده العرب. This negation in the hadith is a negation to that which the Arabs used to believe in. لا هامة. Next is ولا صفر. ولا صفر. No صفر. No صفر. What is صفر? هي حية في البطن تصيب الماشية والناس. It is a حية. حية, what does it mean? حية. A snake. Right? A snake. But what it means here is the worm. The worm. It's a long one. Tapeworm, right? Tapeworm, they call that. In Arabic, الدودة الشريطية. Right? It happens even to the humans, right? But the animals more. So it's حية في البطن. So this is a snake, like a worm in the stomach. تصيب الماشية والناس. That befalls, that hits تصيب the ماشية, the sheep, the flocks of the animals, and الناس, and the people. وهي في العدوى أشد من الجرب عند العرب. It is, in terms of being contagious, عدوى, أشد من الجرب, is more severe than الجرب. الجرب is what? Scabies, right? Where the skin problem that makes you itch, right? It happens to the humans, happen to the animals also. So the contagiousness, al-adwa, the contagiousness of this little worm or snake, fine worm, is more severe than scabies, according to the Arabs. Right? If it happens, this worm is gonna go around and round, and more people will get sick. وعلى هذا يكون النفي لعدواها بنفسها وليس نفيا لوجودها. Based on this, the negation here is the negation for its contagiousness, it being a contagion by itself, independently of the will of Allah. وليس نفيا لوجودها, and this cannot be understood as a negation for its existence. Why the hadith cannot be? Why it cannot be a negation for its existence? Why it cannot be? Why it cannot be? Because it exists. We know this, the tapeworms or their types, they exist. Can an ayah or a hadith negate something that is taking place, that's happening, that we see and hear and feel and touch and treat? Cannot be. It cannot be. It cannot be. It cannot be. Why? Because the Quran and the Sunnah, all of that is revelation, right? Revelation from Allah. Allah is the creator. Can his revelation go against the realities of this life that we see and feel? And it cannot be. It cannot be. So if you see a contradiction between the revelation, Quran or Hadith, and something that's happening, it's either the Quran and the Hadith, the Wahy is not understood properly, right? Or that thing that you claim it exists, it actually doesn't exist or is not there. That's the, and I told you before, long ago when they had those Apollos and they went to the moon, and there was a big a big discussion then. How can they reach the moon? And the moon is in the sky, and right? And there was, and Sheikh Ibn Uthaymeen rahimahullah, he wrote a small booklet. He called it رسالة الوصول إلى القمر, right? Reaching the moon. And I said long ago that we're going to go through this one, which we didn't. Inshallah, we will do it. Not because we want to know about the moon and reaching the moon, but the way he, he explained it, how the meanings of the Quran and Hadith, they cannot oppose what's taking place, right? And you should not be exaggerating. You should not be exaggerating in accepting what many people claim. And at the same time, you cannot have the Quran and the Sunnah be in contradiction with what's happening in real life, right? You cannot be like that. So we have to understand both in a way that they work together. So that's why safar here. If this worm exists and we know it exists and the doctors are treating it and they pull it out from the stomachs of the animal, how can you say no safar, no worm? It is there. How can you deny it? So what is negated here? The negation is for it being contagious, as the Arabs used to think. It's more contagious than scabies, right? This itch in the skin, and they're too much, about it. So they believe it works independently of the will of Allah. That's not true. That's not true. That's what's being negated. That's one meaning. That's one meaning. The second meaning is waqila, and it was said, la safar, no safar, nafyun littasha'umi bi shahri safar. It's a negation of superstition, being superstitious about the month of Safar, about the month of Safar كما كانت تزعم العرب, as the Arabs used to claim. Safar, don't do this, don't do that. Safar is a bad month. If you get married in Safar, don't get married in Safar. Like this, that's how they will act. Stay away from Safar. No, don't start a war. Don't launch an attack on your neighbors in Safar. Right? They're stealing and they don't care about robbery and killing, but then don't do it in Safar. That's bad. If you do it in Safar, something bad will happen. Right? So like this, that's what is being negated. So either the sickness or the month itself. And in this way, no Safar means what? No superstition about the month of Safar. Not like no Safar, because there is Safar. Right? Imagine the month of Safar, everybody knows it exists, and they're using the second of Safar, the third of Safar, and the hadith is telling you there is no Safar. How can it be no Safar when there is Safar? Right? You cannot do that. You have to understand it correctly. ولا غول ولا غول. الغول واحد الغيلان. غول is one of the plural. The plural is غيلان. What is that? هو جنس من الجن والشياطين. It is a type of jinn and satans. تزعم العرب أنها تتغول وتتلون. The Arabs claim that they turn into a ghoul, يعني ghostly thing, you know. وتتلون, and it comes in colors. Comes in colors, various colors. فتضل الناس عن الطريق. So they make the people deviate and go astray on their travels. They make them go astray from the right way. So that ghul will show up to you, and then he will guide you somewhere else, and you will be lost in the desert, and you will die like that. That's the ghul. والنفي ليس نفيا لوجودها. Once again, this negation is not a negation that they exist. The jinn and the shayateen, they do exist, right? They do exist. وإنما هو نفي لزعم العرب أنها تضل الناس. It is a negation to the claim of the Arabs that they lead the people astray and make them deviate. الشرح الإجمالي, the general meaning. لما كانت الجاهلية تعج, they put a kasra on there. I don't know if it's تعج or تعج. Let's see. So when you're using different books, that's what. طيب عج يعج. أيوه. عج يعج. عج يعج again. طيب, so it's a كسرة there. عج يعج. عج يعج is to be filled. تعج بكثير من الخرافات. الجاهلية, the pre-Islamic era, it was completely filled with a lot of myths, خرافات. والأوهام, whims. Right? I don't know, the word whim is very close to wahm in Arabic. And I don't know if the root maybe is taken from there, you know. We'll check the root of whim, where it came from, inshallah. Maybe it's there's this dictionary. Some of the dictionaries, they mention the root of the words, and there was one Arabic dictionary that had a section on the words that the origin of it is Arabic. Like the word sofa, suffa in Arabic, you know, ahlus suffa. Even candy, right? Qand, and I think qand is Farisi too, right? Maybe even the Arabs took it from the So like that. Whim is very close. Whim to wahm. One whim is wahm. The plural is awham. Whim in English is, that is thought that has no reality. التي لا تستند إلى برهان, which do not lean on تستند. They're not based upon, they do not lean on a proof. So Al-Jahiliyyah, the pre-Islamic era, used to be filled with those myths and baseless claims that have no proof. Since that is the case, أراد الإسلام أن يقي أتباعه من تلك الأباطيل. Islam wanted to protect. يقي, this is the verb. You remember I told you taqwa comes from this verb. وقى, يقي, وقاية. So it is waqwa actually, and it became taqwa in the end. Yaqi, to protect its followers from those abatil, things that are false. فأنكر ما كان يعتقده المشركون في هذه الأشياء المذكورة في الحديث. So Islam rejected, denied what the mushrikun, the polytheists, used to believe in these things that are mentioned in the hadith. فبعضها نفي وجوده أصلا. Some of those things, the hadith negated its existence in the first place. أصلا, in origin. نفي. Some of it were negated, its existence was negated in origin. كالطيرة, like superstition. والبعض الآخر أو البعض الآخر نفي تأثيره بنفسه. And some of the others, the other things that are mentioned in the hadith, the effect of it is negated. The effect of it by itself, solo يعني, on its own, without the will of Allah, was negated. لأنه لا يأتي بالحسنات إلا الله ولا يدفع السيئات إلا هو. Because no one brings good except Allah, and no one repels evils except He subhanahu wa ta'ala. الفوائد, the benefits. إن الأمراض لا تعدي بنفسها. The diseases surely do not become contagious independently on their own. وإنما بقضاء الله وقدره. But rather, surely, it is by the decree of Allah and His destiny. Number 2, إبطال التطير وتأثيره. Invalidating تطير, superstition, and it having an effect. It having an effect or impact. تطير, superstition, has nothing, is baseless, completely baseless. Number 3, إبطال زعم الجاهلية في طير الهامة. The invalidation of the claim of the Jahiliyyah, the pre-Islamic ideology, a pre-Islamic era, or the ideology, the beliefs, the system that was prevalent before Islam, Jahiliyyah. في طير الهامة, regarding the bird of al-hama, whether it's the owl or just another bird. Number 4, إبطال التشاؤم في شهر صفر. The invalidation of being superstitious in the month of Safar, regarding the month of Safar. Number 5, إبطال ما زعمه أهل الجاهلية في الغيلان. Invalidating what the people of the ignorant pre-Islamic era, Jahiliyyah, what they claimed regarding al-ghilan, regarding the ghouls, regarding the ghouls. Ghoul is an English an English word. They they make them friendly, the opposite to the Arabs, friendly ghost, مناسبة الحديث للباب. how the hadith is suitable to the chapter. حيث دل الحديث على إبطال التطير. We are on a chapter about the تطير, superstition. So how the hadith is suitable to this chapter? The hadith proves that superstition is invalidated in Islam, is false in Islam. مناسبة الحديث للتوحيد. How the hadith is suitable to the subject of the book, which is the unification of Allah, believing that Allah is one and only. حيث أبطل الحديث التطير, since the hadith invalidates superstition, لأنه تعليق للقلب بغير الله. That is because superstition is linking and attaching the heart to other than Allah. وهذا شرك به, and this is falling into association of partners with Allah. ملاحظة, a note. ملاحظة, or it should be ملحوظة. ملحوظة. You attended yesterday's, or you're not attending the Sunday mornings? Do you attend? The Sheikh Khalid Hamza? No? He noted this yesterday. It should be ملحوظة, not ملاحظة. ملاحظة is from two sides. It's a note. But ملحوظة is something that you noticed. So anyways, a note here. الجمع بين حديث لا عدوى. How to combine between the hadith of no عدوى, no contagious disease, وحديث فر من المجذوم كما تفر من الأسد. Run away from the leopard like you run away from the lion. طيب. This hadith أخرجه البخاري معلقا, meaning not with a complete chain of narrators. Hadith 5707. رواه أحمد وابن أبي شيبة من حديث أبي هريرة. It's an authentic hadith. So this hadith says no contagious disease, no contagions, no infectious diseases. And this hadith says run away from the leopard, which is a contagious disease, like you run away from the lion. How do you combine between both? How do you understand them both? أن قوله فر من المجذوم, that his statement عليه الصلاة والسلام, run away from the leopard, أمر بتوقي الأسباب التي قد تكون سببا للمرض, is a command to protect yourself, to protect oneself from the causes that may be a cause to sickness. وأما قوله صلى الله عليه وسلم لا عدوى, as for his statement عليه الصلاة والسلام لا عدوى, no contagion, فهو نفي لتأثيرها بنفسها. It is a negation for it having an effect independently on its own, independent from the qadr of Allah. Right? That's how to be, how it is understood. المناقشة, the discussion. اشرح الكلمات الآتية. Explain the following words. لا عدوى, no contagion, no infectious disease that is working by itself independently of the qadr of Allah, the destiny. ولا طيرة, no superstition, does not exist and does not have an effect. ولا هامة, no bird of hama, they cannot have any effect. ولا صفر, there is no effect of the month of Safar in terms of superstition. ولا غول, there is no غول that, ghoul that will show up and make you deviate, and this is not, jinn exists and shayateen exists, but then that special type who comes in color and ghost and like it's all myths. It's not true. اشرح الحديث شرحا إجماليا. Explain the hadith in a general way. استخرج 5 فوائد من الحديث مع ذكر المأخذ. Extract 5 benefits from the hadith alongside mentioning the way you took that, how you derived and how you deduced those benefits. وضح مناسبة الحديث لباب. Explain how the hadith is suitable to the chapter. ما جاء في التطير. What has come regarding superstition. وضح مناسبة الحديث للتوحيد. Explain how the hadith is suitable to at-Tawheed, the unification of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We will stop here, inshallah. He did not talk about la no, and inshallah it will come. Inshallah. It will come inshallah. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك.
I'm thinking that maybe Indian subcontinent, Africa, they believe still these things until today. How it came from? Probably came from Arabs.
Could be.
Spreading their knowledge.
And the Arabs could be taking that from them too. They, bad, insane people, have a bad effect on each other. Right?
Yeah,
Like the Arabs, they were on Tawheed. Then Amr ibn Luhay, he went to somewhere, he found those idols, he brought them and put them in the Kaaba. And everybody followed suit. Right? So it's like it was foreign. So that's that. But it still exists within Muslims. Muslims now, they still have those things. Superstition and strange things. Yes, and okay, even the so-called educated Westerners, they still have, you are in the elevator, you have 11, 12, and 14. What happened to the 13? Yes, what happened to the 13? And it's a Friday the 13th on top of that. Not only 13, but on a Friday. Yeah, something bad will happen. That's how they are. Even if they are educated or they claim to be, sophisticated or whatever, but they will have that. Allah al-Musta'an. Okay, we'll stop here. Brother Zakir, he asked about the qadr and the free will, how you explain it to the non-Muslims. You have a will, and Allah has a will, and Allah's will supersedes your will. You do not will except if Allah wills. Allah created for you two things. He created for you will and ability. You created for you the will and the ability. So if you have the will and you don't have the ability, you will not be able to achieve. If you have the ability but you don't have the will, you will not be able to achieve. Right? So if you have the will and the ability, then you can have something happen. You can achieve. But even that achievement will not happen except if Allah wills that for you. If Allah did not will it, it will not happen. How? You may be the strongest person ever and you have the ability, but Allah makes your will just gone, like you are you're completely incapable, lazy, so lazy, you don't want to move, you want to stay asleep all day long, right? Or the opposite, you have the will and you want, strong will, but then it's like, you have the will, but then it's so huge of a rock, you cannot even lift it, right? You can't do it. You have the will, but you don't have the ability. So those two things, and then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the creator. If nothing happens on earth, nothing happens within his universe except what he wills, subhanahu wa ta'ala. So, in a nutshell, inshallah. Of course, the subject is more, and this is one of the important subjects, the subject of Al-Qadr, that we need to understand very well. That's why I promised before, inshallah, we will do it, bidnillah, if Allah gives us the ability and gives us the long life, inshallah, and make us firm on seeking knowledge. there is this book by Imam Ibn al-Qayyim about Al-Qada wal-Qadar. It's a big book, but the Sheikh Salih al-Shami, Hafidhahullah, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala relieve him from whatever he's going through. He's still detained. He summarized it in like 1/3 of the book, but it became very beneficial. So that one, if we understand Al-Qadar, is an important subject to understand, part of the Aqidah that we need to be, inshallah, benefit from that. Is there an article or a booklet I can read to further understanding Al-Qadar? I think Allah knows best. There are a number of books that have that. There is a book by Dr. Muhammad Naim Yassin, rahimahullah, which they printed in English. They translated it under Al-Iman according to Ibn Taymiyyah. Ibn Taymiyyah has nothing to do with it, but I think the publisher wanted to make it more although it's a good book in general, we're not saying anything, but it's not authored by Ibn Taymiyyah, rahimahullah. That has a section on Al-Qadr that is a good section there. And there is a book by Dr. Salih al-Salih, rahimahullah, about predestination. Salih al-Salih, Dr. Salih al-Salih, is in English written. He wrote it in English, directly in English. This one is a good book also on Al-Qadr. And there is the series by Dr. Umar Sulaiman al-Ashqar, rahimahullah ta'ala, series on Iman, that was all translated in English also. And one section is on Al-Qadr. It's a very nice book on Al-Qadr that's available in English, inshallah. So here you have three books on Al-Qadr, inshallah. And there is Sharh Usul al-Iman by Sheikh Ibn Uthaymeen, the explanation of the foundations of Iman. Has a small section on Al-Qadr. This one is translated different translations. One of them by Dr. Salih al-Salih, Sharh Usul al-Iman, the explanation of the foundations of Iman. Right? They did in English. Different versions came of that book. طيب إن شاء الله. وما شاء الله Ibn Fadl is with us too. Alaykum as-salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Jazakumullahu khayran. We'll have to stop here. We still have في ظلال المحبة. It won't take long, inshallah. We'll make it a short one, inshallah. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.